if people are purchasing vitamins or other kind of medication or whatever it might be, it's super personal. It's to do with their health, and so they don't want to feel like they're being talked to with 100,000 other people.
Being a woman in general, I think probably a lot of it is down to our own limiting beliefs.
Often a key challenge that clients come to us with is customer retention and getting their customers to make not just one purchase but 3, 4, 5 purchases and to come back multiple times.
Hi guys, and welcome to Marketing the Madness. I find, by the way, doing these intros like absolutely horrendous. I am feeling like I need to mix them up and do them differently because I just find it so awkward doing the bit to camera on my own. But anyway, I'm going with it for today. So today I have been interviewing the fantastic Georgie Carter. Georgie not only is a female founder, she's also pregnant. So we talk about how she's going to navigate running a business whilst having a baby and hopefully taking some time off for mat leave. But also she is a fantastic marketing expert. She's built a brilliant business, which she's been running for the past 3 years. I just found out that we grew up in the same town, so that's also interesting. But we uncover some really interesting trends that she's seeing and talk a lot actually about SMS marketing, which is huge at the moment. If you're like me, you'll have also been asked to sign up by lots of brands recently, not just via email, but also by SMS. So that's a really interesting trend that we start to talk about on today's pod. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now because, like I said, I find this bit really awkward. Let's go and meet Georgie Carter. So hi, Georgie, and welcome to Marketing in the Madness.
Thank you. No, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Super excited. So we've spoken before and you have probably got a lot of affinities with what we do at Street. So I'm super excited to understand more about what you're doing, the trends that you're seeing, the kind of marketing, I guess, tactics that are really getting you punched through and that you're noticing are doing really well for your clients at the moment. So
brilliant.
I'm excited to learn. But before we do that, I just wanted our listeners to understand a little bit more about you. So can you tell us about what you do, your business? Because of course, another one of the key things I like to chat about on this podcast is empowering females and female founders, which of course you are. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, sure. So bit of background. So I'm the founder of Pepped. We're an email and SMS marketing agency. So we specialise in working with clients primarily in the kind of direct consumer health and wellness space. And our real focus is that kind of lifecycle journey. So making sure that our clients are sending the right content to the right people at the right time in a nutshell. So it's really about mapping out the customer journey and making sure all those touch points are kind of educating and nurturing people towards making the next step in a particular journey or funnel.
Love it. So basically, I'm going to learn a lot, hopefully, about how you do it slightly differently to us, because that's exactly what we do at Street as well. So before obviously having your own agency, let's talk a bit about you first. Yeah. What did your career look like? And actually, everyone listening, we've just found out Georgie grew up where I grew up. So in Poole, well, slightly different area, but I was in the New Forest at the time and you were in Poole.
Yeah, pretty close.
So and I now live literally around the corner from where you grew up. So tell us a bit about your career and how you got to launching your own business.
Yeah, sure. So grew up down in sunny Poole, and my first sort of career role was in an ad agency. So spent about 2 years at an agency called Grey. So I was working on kind of relatively big accounts like Pantene and Sensodyne, and kind of got my toes into the water, whatever the phrase is, in terms of kind of ads and working in an agency environment. But actually, ironically, I didn't love it. I felt actually it wasn't quite for me. So I then jumped ship and worked for about 5 years in a in-house for a brand called Houzz. So Houzz. It's a bit of a strange spelling, but they're a website and app for home redesign. Big US company, launched into sort of 14 or so different countries over the 5 years I was there. So growing very quickly. And that was where I learnt a lot of my email and SMS skills, knowledge. So I was doing that for about 5 years, enjoyed it a lot, especially working in such a kind of scaling company. It was growing super fast. So that was really, really cool to be part of. But actually I've always wanted to do my own thing and always had a few sort of side hustles, side projects, mainly in the kind of health wellness space, interestingly, which is why I've sort of gone down that route now. But got to sort of the 5 year mark at my previous role and thought, right, I'm gonna jump ship and do some freelance marketing consulting whilst I figure out what business I do want to start. And so I was doing that for sort of 4 or 5 months, and it actually just grew organically, and just so happened that then I took on some more freelancers, and sort of grew from there. And before I sort of knew it, I thought, oh, maybe the agency route is where I should go down, rather than sort of, originally I was trying to sort of figure out what D2C product I could create or build or whatever it might be, but actually being more of a service-based agency turned out sort of in the sort of way that it did, and actually suits me really well. So it was slightly unintentional to start an agency, but I actually love doing it now, but I've always wanted to start my own business. So the sort of running my own thing was the background, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was going to look like until it sort of appeared in front of me kind of 6 months into my freelance world or work. So that's the sort of overview, and then been running Pepped for coming up for 3 years now. So we're a small team based here in London, but work with clients sort of US, UK, all over the place, really. So it's grown organically, and enjoying the journey so far. It's been a challenge and a roller coaster, like many businesses are to run, but enjoying it as much as possible.
I think that's actually really interesting to delve into, because my business was exactly the same. I started contracting, freelancing, made sure I had enough clients, or enough money from 2 clients actually, to make that jump. Yeah. And then it grew legs, and suddenly I had this business that was turning over just under £1 million. And I was like, oh wow, I've built a whole agency now. Like I really need to grow up and think about what my business is, what are our values, what do we stand for, what do we do, because it does just grow. And I think lots of people think that you have to have this big grand master plan and a business plan and funding, and that just often is not how it works. Like, I think you've just got to take the leap, get going, and actually the evolution of your business comes from learning on the job. And I mean, I'm very much like that. I didn't go to uni or anything, so maybe that's just how I am as a person. But I really do think learning by doing, and then you need to make the plans. Of course, now we have business plans, we have marketing plans, we have sales plans, we have we've in fact doing a huge operational overturn at Street at the moment. But I think people get so bogged down in, I can't do it because I need to do this. No, just do it.
You've got to do it and learn and fail and exactly.
So important. So tell me a little bit more about Pepped Up. It sounds like, just to be like super clear, that you've got a core team, but mainly it's freelance resource, which seems like a really, I'm kind of jealous of that.
I started having a lot of freelance resource. I now have a team of employees, but we sort of where we've got overcapacity, we'll pull in freelancers. But in a nutshell, we're very specialised, both in the type of marketing we're doing, which is really very much email and SMS, and also the type of client we're working with. So D2C is our sort of bread and butter, and within that, generally it's sort of health, wellness, lifestyle space. So anything from sort of skincare brands through to CBD, food and drink, vitamins, working with a few clothing brands is more on the lifestyle space. But quite a wealth of sort of different types of clients in that D2C health, wellness sort of lifestyle space.
Love that. And mainly startups, or?
We started working with more startups. Now we're working with some larger brands. We have been, we're sort of trying to work with more of those sort of scale ups is what I call them. So brands that have typically been around for a couple of years now. Maybe they had some of their email and SMS marketing put in place at the beginning, but it's something they kind of left untouched, and now they're realizing that maybe it's not working for them as hard as it could be driving more revenue, their customer retention isn't quite where they want it to be, and then that's where we sort of come in, that usually they're lacking the sort of the time, resource, knowledge, but know or value the importance of email and SMS and how it can really drive revenue, but don't necessarily have the sort of the skills in-house to do it. So typically that's where we'll swoop in and help out.
Yeah, and it really does feel like, I mean, I am a self-confessed shopaholic. I literally subscribe my life to everything just to make it as easy and quick as I possibly can. Literally anything and everything that I can have, from Mindful Chef deliveries, dog food deliveries, beauty deliveries, vitamin deliveries, AG1, Simprov, and anything and everything. I have it all. So text messaging feels like it's kind of hitting me in the face at the moment. Like, traditionally, people were always asking for your email address and then they were emailing you. That really seems to be changing. And then often to get when you go on a website and you're trying to, sign up to get your first, 10% or 15% off your first order, they're now asking for your mobile number. And that, I've really noticed that in the last 6 months. So have you got any insights into why? I mean, I guess my big guess is all of our. I mean, I have a separate email address.
Yeah.
Just
do you?
for my sign up.
I think a lot of people do that. Yeah.
Because it's so overwhelming in my inbox. Otherwise, you just couldn't just have one email, could you? There's no way. So I'm guessing that has something to do with it. But what else can you tell us about why that shift is happening?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we, as I touched on earlier, we work with a couple of, or have been working with a few brands in the US. And in the US, text messaging has been much more prevalent and around for a fair amount of time, partly due to the kind of it's much easier to text people as a brand in the US. We're a little bit stricter over here in the UK, but it's I think the shift is actually coming over from, or the trend's coming over from the US, as a lot of things do. So over in the US, consumers are much more used to receiving text messages, and it's less personal and abrupt. Whereas over here, I think over the last couple of years, previously to sort of the last 6 months even, it's felt a little bit jarring from brands, and it's it's not something we're used to receiving, and often it can feel a little bit too personal, whereas email is a little bit more generic and it's a sort of a touch away from your friends are texting you, but brands maybe more on the email side. But that shift is definitely is happening, and we're seeing a lot more brands in the UK using SMS really successfully, particularly with transactional type messages around kind of order shipped, order confirmed, all those sorts of ones, which are actually quite well. There's a research I read recently which said that actually a lot of people do want to receive those types of messages from SMS because it's handy to know your orders there or whatever it might be. I think where it becomes a little bit more sensitive is potentially around kind of more marketing type messages, and I think brands need to really address that and go quite carefully in terms of how they're texting their customers, and making sure their segmentation is right, and that it's they're not texting people in the middle of the night by accident and all those sorts of things. You just need to be a little bit more cautious around it, and also think about kind of making sure you've got a proper opt-in. It's a little bit more tight in terms of restriction versus email. So you're right, people are asking for your phone number a lot more now, and brands are texting a lot more, which I think that trend and that shift is coming over from the US, but it feels like consumers are much more open to it here than maybe they were 6 months, a year ago, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I seem to get daily messages from, I think, Victoria Beckham Beauty, who I've still not bought anything with.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I do want to actually buy something. I keep forgetting to do it. But they will constantly message me.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it does not. I mean, maybe at first it did feel a bit jarring, like you say, but actually, you like with anything, you get used to it. And it's a channel that not many other brands at the moment, not all brands have adopted it. It seems to be the kind of more forward-thinking, innovative brands that are taking that approach and are doing it. So in my mind, saying rules apply, pick the channels where you're most likely to get noticed. You're going to be in a flooded email inbox, not to say that you're not going to get noticed, and I do still scroll through my emails to see if there's any good offers or anything I need to know, but actually it's another channel that is potentially going to get you noticed where you may not be getting noticed at the moment. So I'm all for it. And I totally agree on so for instance, I use Ella & Co. I mean, I feel like this is a whole load of adverts for brands. I use Ella & Co. Dog food.
Oh, yeah.
And they will text me saying, hey, my dog, I've got 2 dogs, Bam Bam and Bee. Bam Bam's food's out for delivery. You've got 3 days to let us know if you don't need it and you want to delay your delivery, or if you've got any problems. And and it's so handy because I can literally text back going, no, don't need it now, can I have it on this day? Or actually, can you just push it back a week? And they'll then respond as a person. So you get an automated message and then they respond as a person. Now, that's where I think it gets interesting. And I can say, my other dog, I'd tried I've got a puppy. I tried some food and said it wasn't quite right. So they messaged back going, is there anything we can do? Well, probably not, because she just doesn't like it. But, it's that kind of more personal service that I find really interesting. And my personal view on all marketing is to make it more personal. Yeah. Now, that is, I mean, obviously I operate a lot in the B2B world, as we were just saying, less in the D2C and direct to consumer, B2C area. But I think any business needs to come across that more human. And there are some fantastic brands that I buy from regularly, probably smaller ones that are able to do it at scale. But I do think the larger businesses and the bigger fashion brands potentially need to think about how they can become more human. So, for instance, I purchased a few pairs of jeans from a very expensive jeans brand called Donna Ida, and they will literally WhatsApp me, hey, if you order through me, you get like 20% off. I can also help you with your sizing and give you advice. You can send me a picture of yourself, and and just does it brilliantly. Like, she'll be, I'm really set. I mean, whether she is of a similar size to me or not, I don't know. This lady called Natasha, who messages me about jeans, she'll be like, we've got these new ones coming out. I can reserve them for you, because they do sell out really quickly. So that, for me,
that's almost like a personal shopping experience.
I absolutely love that. And that's really specific to fashion. But there are lots of wine companies that do that, like Avery's, who still do it by phone, for instance, but will phone me, go, hey, I know the kind of wines that you like. I can put this box together for you. So it feels like marketing is growing up. It's starting to become more human. And I think if text messages, WhatsApp messages, whatever it might be, can be used in the right way to nurture consumers, it's actually really exciting.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you're exactly right. And it's brands, or consumers, I should say, are expecting more of that personalised experience now. I think probably COVID potentially sped that up, in that a lot of our everyday experiences moved online, and people are expecting more of that kind of personalised experience with brands. And so it's all about how brands can make sure that they realise they're talking to a lot of people, but actually they're all individuals, and using the data that they've got to make sure that it comes across as personalised as possible. We find that actually particularly working in the sort of health wellness space, and that if people are purchasing vitamins or other kind of medication or whatever it might be, it's super personal. It's to do with their health, and so they don't want to feel like they're being talked to with 100,000 other people. It's making sure that it feels like that one-on-one conversation, that they're being kind of handheld and guided through what to expect, and how to use whatever product, service they've bought. It's as you say, it's much more of that kind of one-on-one type comms, which I think consumers really want to receive now. They want to feel special, and like they're being talked to on a one-on-one basis, rather than from a robot. So I think it's a key thing brands need to be aware of these days.
It's basically humanizing the approach to marketing, which I love that. I'm all about that this year. Building community, supportive networks. There's so many different ways that you can do it, but I think that human element is going to be super important for all of us. So of course you are already doing this for a lot of clients. I'm really like digging into the SMS stuff, because it's not something, to be fair, that we're doing for any of our clients. I'm thinking, and we are always trying to do things differently in the B2B world. More of what we're doing is voice noting people maybe, rather than emailing or messaging them, or so we're starting to do it, but more using social platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. So can you share with me any successes or trends that you're seeing, things that are doing really well in that space?
On an SMS front, one of the key challenges brands are facing is actually collecting those phone numbers in the first place, and making sure that people are opting in, and that they're getting all of that consent and all that sort of boring stuff that needs to happen. We're seeing a few interesting brands have tried creating sort of an SMS exclusive club, for example, or enticing people to sign up for SMS on their website by using those sorts of incentives. So just making it slightly different from email. Email and SMS should work sort of together, but they are separate channels. So thinking about how you can encourage people to give you their phone number. It is a little bit more of an ask than people giving you their email address, because it's much more personal. It still feels personal, particularly in the UK. So I think brands need to give that extra incentive to encourage their customers to give them their phone number, and some sort of exclusive SMS type club, exclusive offers, anything you can sort of think of that makes it slightly different is a great way of incentivizing those SMS sign-ups. Always need to make sure you've got opt-in, which is boring, but it's important to make sure you've got. And then, as I touched on earlier, that I'd start by sending transactional type messages if you're e-commerce or D2C, and test the waters, see how it goes, and then kind of ramp up from there. For example, if you're going to send transactional emails and people are signing up for a new SMS list, the other thing you can think of is a welcome series. So super basic, but just saying, as soon as they've given you their phone number, telling them what to expect, telling them that this is the number from the brand, what they can expect to receive over the next few weeks, all that sort of stuff is similar to email, and it kind of mirrors what we'd do on email, but it's just slightly more personal and just needs to be sort of thought through a bit more. But I'd suggest transactional emails are a great place to start. Welcome series, so once someone's signed up for that SMS list, another great flow or sequence to have in place. And then I'd suggest kind of building up from there, and there's loads of also sort of third-party apps. I think it sounds like you're using one with your dog food company. What was it called? Ella
Co, yeah.
And there's a tool called Rello, which again helps brands manage their subscription through SMS. So it's that kind of talking back one-on-one, feels very personalised, but a lot of it is all automated. So it doesn't have to be this huge sort of gigantic box that you're sort of not sure how to approach in terms of sort of SMS, but thinking about it more tactically, I think, and starting slowly and building up. And you might find it depends on the audience as well. If you're selling, I don't know, I'm going to be stereotype here, but hearing aids, for example, maybe SMS isn't quite the right tool. I don't know. Whereas maybe it's, if you've got more of a younger audience, maybe it is. Having said that, different things work for different audiences, but I'd suggest think about your audience, who they are, ask them if you're running surveys, ask them how they want to be communicated with, would they be interested in SMS. But definitely sort of start with your transactional. That's a really good place to begin, and then build up from there in terms of different sequences that you can put in place.
Now, one of my favourite things to ask my guests is often around the tools that will help them do this. So you mentioned Rello.
Yes.
Are there any other platforms that will help from an SMS or a WhatsApp point of view? Are there any technologies that people should go and check out?
Yeah, there's a few. So I mean, if people are already using an email platform, often email that platform will also offer SMS. A lot of our clients use Klaviyo, for example, so it has an SMS option you can tag on. Otherwise, there are specific SMS platforms like Attentive is a really good option, and they purely are focusing on sending SMS. So they're kind of a really good choice to go down if maybe your email service provider doesn't already include SMS. Rello is a sort of another add-on to help you make your SMS more personalised and segmented, and really actually really good for managing subscriptions. Sounds like maybe the brand you mentioned might be using them. So there's a few there. And I've mentioned this before, but definitely make sure you've got the right opt-ins and sign-up forms. It's quite easy just to gather the SMS, but you need to make sure people are opting in to receive them as well. So even if you have already collected phone numbers, make sure that you've got the consent to text people.
Yes. And also, I guess, from a customer service point of view, because I am the queen of signing up to everything, I am a marketeer that is so easily marketed to. Yeah. But things that frustrate me is then if I message back and go, can I cancel my subscription? If they went no, I'd be like, ugh. Yeah. So now it feels like you're just using this to sell to me, and I definitely don't want to use this anymore. So I think, again, just thinking about consumer sentiment, understanding your audience's wants and needs, a lot of this is around making life easier. So how can you make sure the service isn't just a push service and it's actually a helpful service? So that's I think really, really interesting, and I think we're going to see more and more of that come through.
I think so. Other thing that's actually interesting to mention is from we were working with a fashion brand who started sending image-based text messages, particularly for stuff like abandoned cart, that people had looked at a pair of jeans, for example, and not bought them, sending them a text message of the jeans with a little image, and giving them the option to check out straight off the back of an SMS. That's particularly for more visual type e-commerce brands. That's quite an interesting one we've seen. Particularly, that was a US brand actually, so they're maybe slightly more ahead, but interesting trend. I'm sure will come over here as well. Yeah,
I love that. I mean, for me, I just find it fascinating, but I guess I live and breathe this world. One more question I've got on the text messaging side, which is a very selfish question to ask, but I'm going to, because why not? How would you address this in the B2B world? So we are often, using LinkedIn, Instagram to kind of prospect to potential, guests or whoever it might be, for guests that are going to attend events that are really going to be prospects for our clients. So do you think that would be okay if we're able to get their phone number off those platforms, which we've got some very clever technology to start using and I think it would be a very personal approach maybe it's just worth testing, right?
Yeah,
because B2B it feels different.
It is a little bit different, but the principle is kind of the same. I guess maybe it would be a bit of a grey area in terms of if it's their personal, well, it's obviously going to be their personal phone number unless they've got two phones. But maybe that's potentially for some people crossing more of a line, and that it's their personal phone they use for friends, family versus email. Maybe you're emailing them on their work email address. I don't know. But then if they give you their phone number, then in theory it should be fine. I get start from the same points I mentioned earlier around kind of more of the it's not exactly transactional, but sort of those looking forward to seeing you at X event type messages. So it's more, as you say, more convenience, more kind of bit of hand holding, bit of reminders, and then maybe work up from there. But I think in theory it's the same principle, and if you're providing value and you're helping people and they're getting those reminders about whatever it is that they need to be reminded about, then definitely worth testing.
Yeah, we actually do. I mean, we don't use any platform to do it. We do it fairly manually. So it'd be interesting maybe for us to check out the platforms. But at the moment, we do. We'll ring everyone ahead of the events because we want to know if they've got any questions for our panelists and the brands that are speaking. We want to know if they, if it's an event where there's food, if they've got any dietary requirements that we need to know about. So we will always phone them, and then if we don't, we'll on the mornings or the day of the events, depending on what time the event is, we'll message them going, hey, just checking you're on your way. If you need any help getting there, or you're going to be late, let me know. I'm going to be at the door. So it's that kind of personal, it's just being a nice human, really. And I think if you can think about all of your marketing as just being nice and helpful and understanding, that life can be tough and things can change, and what your audience is going to find helpful from your brand or your business. I think that's the best place to start, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you're right. Keeping in mind that it's always you're speaking to an individual at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and that's
person.
Yeah,
person to person. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've covered quite a bit about text messaging, which I'm very excited about, and now you're giving me lots of ideas that hopefully I can share with my clients. Of course, we've both got a business that does a lot of email marketing, quite differently, I guess, but a lot of the same rules are going to apply. Yeah. So again, on the email side of things, talk me through your process, how you use email, probably slightly differently. So we tend to take, again, a very human approach to emailing. So we never, because in the B2B world, I don't feel like individuals running marketing or digital or whatever it is that we're trying to talk to them about necessarily want to hear from a marketing team. It's not really going to help them. Although, the larger agencies of the world that we often do work with, we will help, develop newsletters that are very well-known brands. However, on the whole, we're reaching out as people to people. Yeah. So they're not branded, they're not designed, they are, an email that looks like it's coming from a person to you individually, although the likelihood is we're probably sending it to a few thousand people. So we try and bespoke it and make it as real, relevant, and seem as unique and bespoke as it possibly can be. So our approach to email marketing is probably quite different to yours. So I'd love to know, on the D2C side of things, how do you create that email marketing strategy?
So typically where we start with clients is on the strategy, and we have a sort of framework which we follow, and the first piece of the framework is defining the customer journey. So typically when we'll come in working with a client, they've already got some of their email in place, so it's either kind of looking at what's already there and what's working, what's not, understanding more about their goals long term. Often a key challenge that clients come to us with is customer retention, and getting their customers to make not just one purchase but 3, 4, 5 purchases, and to come back multiple times. So the first thing we always focus on is looking at their email service providers, looking at the account. Usually it's Klaviyo, understanding kind of where in the e-commerce journey people are dropping off or not, which emails are performing well, which aren't, and then once we've got that really thorough understanding of sort of where they are in terms of sort of state of play, we can then put together more of what we call our roadmap. So this is really about kind of mapping out their customer journey going forwards, partly based on kind of best practice and what we know works, partly based on other clients that we worked in similar industry, but it's always going to be an element of kind of bespoke testing, and there'll be differences and nuances between different types of brands. So first thing is really to map out that customer journey. They're always, from an e-commerce or D2C perspective, there's always sort of those foundational type sequences that you need. So things like, your transactional emails, your post-purchase, so what happens after someone's made their purchase, how can we encourage them to make another one, your welcome series, so that's actually pre-purchase. So once you've grabbed that email address, as you mentioned earlier, the pop-ups on the website offering 10-15% off, whatever it might be, kind of encouraging them to use that discount or incentive and make their first purchase. Thinking about win back, cleaning your database, so sunset flows for people that just aren't engaged anymore. You want to clean your database. So there's a whole host of different sequences that need to go in place for most sort of for most D2C or e-commerce brands. So that's typically where we start, and then we'll go into kind of the timing, the strategy, the segmentation, as you touched on, how we can personalize each of those comms. But I guess the difference maybe between the B2B and the B2C world is, it sounds like you're sending much more of the sort of the plain text type comms, where it looks very personal and it's individual, whereas we pepper in a few of those, particularly it works well for kind of emails that come from a founder or an update or a please fill in our survey type email, but much more of them are sort of HTML looking very pretty and polished type emails. So maybe slight difference there. But yeah, in theory, it's quite simple in terms of we just look at what's working and what's not, and then plug in all of the gaps based on our sort of knowledge and what we know works well in terms of timing, strategy, segmentation, all that good stuff, and then we go into the actual build and the implementation. So defining what's working and what we suggest goes in place is the sort of first port of call when we start working with a client.
Yeah, and I think that's key, isn't it? It's understanding who your audience is. A wine brand, you might be fine to send plain text emails all the time, maybe, because it's coming from a person, and maybe you might want to send a picture of Whispering Angel or a big brand. But if you're in a fashion brand, you need to show off the product, or
exactly.
You're a beauty brand, you're going to have to show the product because that's what people want. So you really have to think about the tactics that are going to work based on the audience wants and needs. If you've got a product that needs to be visualized, you're going to have to be a lot more visual in your comms. If you've got a product that doesn't necessarily need to be visualized, or a service, then you can do, I personally think, the person-to-person comms work a lot better. But once you've built an engaged audience, there's no reason that you can't interlace that with more branded comms and beautiful looking, newsletters or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And actually sometimes when you've got more of the branded comms and then you pepper in like a more personal plain text one, it stands out a lot, and you generally get quite a good response from those sorts of ones. So it's a bit of a balance, but I think as you say, it depends on the audience and who you're speaking to, and also what the type of comms they actually want to receive. A lot of brands forget to ask their audience, and they guess and they assume and go through endless testing, whereas actually a quick survey or calling some of them is a good way to find out quite quickly how best to communicate with your audience.
Yeah, I don't know why more brands don't do that. Like that, you can see the smart ones that do, because they'll go, fill out this survey and we'll give you 10% off your next order or whatever it might be. And I would so do that for a brand that I love and I care about and I know that I want to order from. I have no qualms. I mean, maybe because I work in marketing, I have a different view on all of this kind of stuff, but I would want to give that information because I want to help them give me a better service and create better products or whatever it might be. So really think about that. I think super important. Do not forget to speak to your customers. So I don't know why people don't. So easy
to forget, because I think they're seen as a sort of mass of people that rather than individuals, and that sort of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. But just doing regular surveys, NPS surveys, all of that is great.
Yeah, so basic, but so important, and something that sometimes brands and people forget to do. So I want to ask one last question on email before we move on to something else. And that is around what trends you're seeing. So is there anything that you guys because you're doing this across so many different brands, that you're seeing come through time and time again at the moment that we should be aware of? Any kind of subjects, any, I don't know, it could be anything, you tell me. Anything that we could kind of pick up on, or that our listeners could maybe use in their tactics?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, to be honest, I think the main one is SMS, which we've obviously dived into.
Yeah, which is fine. If that's the main thing, that's the main thing.
That's a big trend at the moment for sure. Otherwise, I think it's just that lean towards using customer data and using it to feed into your comms strategy. So, there's a lot of brands are being a little bit more smart now around how they're collecting data about their customers and actually using it to then inform their strategy going forward. So, thinking about sending comms based on someone's behaviour and putting people into different buckets based on what they've bought previously, or how they've interacted with the website, or maybe on a more of a B2B level, whether they've downloaded an ebook or attended an event. There's multiple different ways you can sort of start to segment people and then send comms accordingly. One of the key ways we find works well is using RFM data, so recency, frequency and monetary value. So splitting people up by how recently they bought, how much they've spent, and how frequently they purchased, and using that to put people into different buckets and then send them down different routes. I guess the sort of thing with segmentation is that it can feel a bit overwhelming, particularly at the start, and particularly when you've got there's any number of ways you can segment or split your audience, but starting small and sort of building up is probably our key recommendation. So using more data and actually continuing to gather more data, so you can do what's called progressive profiling to again ask your audience whether they'll fill in a form or provide you with their favorite shampoo or whatever it might be if you're selling hair care products, or what type of hair they have if going down the hair route, or their skin concern if you're more of a skin focused brand. You can ask additional questions from your audience, so you don't have to just go with the data that they've provided you with. Actually asking them, particularly your more engaged customers, is a really great way of informing your strategy going forwards. I think personalisation, the data point, and SMS are sort of three key things that we're seeing getting a lot of attention at the moment.
Yeah, totally. And the same in our world, to be fair. It's all about segmenting that data, understanding who the different audiences are and what their different preferences might be, so that you can send much more personalised messaging. It really does make all the difference in terms of the results and that return on investment, because you're actually talking directly to their needs based on their behaviours, and it's how you get the cut through.
Definitely, yeah. The other thing just sort of comes to my mind is on the customer retention piece. That's often a big sticking point for clients or customers, and kind of getting their customers to come back multiple times. And so loyalty programs is another thing that we've seen have a bit of a shift in that a lot of consumers are much more conscious, particularly kind of younger generations now, in terms of environmental side of things and sustainability. And so we've seen a few loyalty programs work particularly well when it's not just discounts or money off next purchase. It's more about they can donate to a certain charity or plant X number of trees or whatever it might be. Just again, kind of comes back to understanding who your audience are and what they want, and then adapting accordingly. So loyalty programs that are built around a really clear understanding of a brand's audience and how their consumers behave is really has been quite an interesting trend, particularly around those more conscious potentially younger consumers who are don't just want money off or discount off is great, but it's not necessarily going to cut it these days. Or actually giving back to charity or focusing on environment is another way to kind of build more of that community and loyalty around your brand.
Yeah, and I think that for me, it all links back to your values as a brand as well, like understanding and going back to those core values, which is probably, let's hope, why your consumers care about you and why they're purchasing from you, and making sure that you're then pushing out content and loyalty programs that are kind of matching that. It's great. I'm really excited, actually. It's funny that you talk about that, because next week for a couple of our clients, Big Commerce, who are a kind of e-commerce platform, I'm sure you know about them, are our client, and they're hosting an event alongside another agency client, E2X, and we've got Dr. Barbara Sturm speaking,
cool.
And they're going to be talking specifically about loyalty, because I know for brands at the moment, it's a real challenge for them to retain their customers to get those repeat purchases. We're in the middle of not quite a recession, but hard times. There has been a huge economic downturn globally, so it's something that is front of mind for a lot of brands. So if you're an agency and listening, definitely loyalty is something that's super, super important at the moment, and I'm sure something that you're getting challenged from your the clients that you work with all the time. So my last little segment of today's podcast, and I hope I'm allowed to say this, and if I'm not, then you can tell me to take it off the recording, is, of course, I can see that you have a lovely, beautiful little bum there, and you're expecting a little boy in July.
That's right.
So a hugely important part of this podcast for me is about female entrepreneurship, female founders, because it is bloody tough for us women. I've been a single mum actually. The whole time I've run Street, and since my daughter was a year old, I've lived on my own. Very sad for me. No, not really very sad, but it's tough being a mum, running a business, being a woman in general. I think probably a lot of it is down to our own limiting beliefs and us not being. I mean, I'm quite bolshy and maybe a bit more of an alpha female, which I hate saying, but I'm not scared to put myself forward. I'm a bit of a show off, and that's probably helped me in my career because I've always put my hand up and had my voice heard. But I think us women, a lot more maybe than men, often aren't brave enough to do that, and we don't push ourselves forward, which means it is often harder for us to progress our careers. Then we have to take time off and have a baby and, not be at work. So I'm super interested as a sole founder of a business. How are you going to manage things, and what's your plan for mat leave?
Yeah, this is a big question and a good one.
Sorry. Only because, I never had another baby. I nearly did get close to thinking about it at one point. But when I was running my business, I don't know how I would navigate that. I was thinking, well, they'd literally just have to come, be breastfeeding and writing
typing,
emails. And, that would just be how it would work. So, but that's not healthy either. So I'm super interested.
It's first baby, so I'm very much going into a unknown. But I have been trying to speak to as many other people as possible who've been there and understand what it's like. A lot of my kind of friends are employed, and so it's a different situation. I can't hand in my notice.
Bye guys.
See ya. So I like to think I'm quite an organised person. I'm trying to be very organised in terms of, I'm fortunate I've got a team, so I'm prepping them as much as possible and really trying to sort of extract myself from all of my day-to-day, week-to-week tasks. One of the key challenges has been new business and sales, as that's been sort of purely my role to date. So one of my team members is doing a great job at kind of taking that on from me. So I've been training her up over the last few months. So I guess it's just about being as organised as possible, and I've sort of tried to figure out all of my responsibilities and within my role, and look at what I can delegate and what I can't, and sort of look to manage that. But I mean, this is my first baby, so I've no idea really how it's going to go
or how you're going to feel. And I think that's what's hard when you I thought, I was really young when I had my daughter. I was 25, and I kind of thought, she's not going to change my life. She's just
carry on,
come along with me, and I'm going to go straight back to work, and it's all going to be fine. And and in some respects it kind of was like that, but they do they do change.
Of course
they do change our worlds. So you've got to make space for that change. And I think as women, we're breastfeeding. It's not as easy. We're not like a guy that can take 2 weeks off and head straight back into the office. It takes a toll on our bodies. We're breastfeeding, not always, but a lot of the time. But even if not, you need. It's like having a massive operation. Like you're going to need more than that. Your body's going to need that time to recover. So I'm glad that you've made plans.
I have
made sure that you've got time.
Whether it goes to plan, I don't know. No. I think probably the key piece of advice I've been given is just to remain as flexible as possible and not have a sort of a plan that I have to stick to. And it's going to be a sort of fluid process. I will take hopefully a couple of months off and then phase back up, but it will never be completely off. I'm sure I'll Pepped is my first baby, so I need to keep making sure things are all okay, which I'm sure they will be. The team are great, but it's just I think I'll have that urge just to check in every now and
But
again.
If you want to, and that is another thing, I think if that's what you want to do, then you should do it. It's if you don't want to, then don't do it, because you've done the groundwork, you have prepped the business for your absence, and actually it's a lot of when I speak to founders, it's a lot of where we need to get to as MDs, or not as MDs, but as founders of businesses, is you do want to kind of orbit the business rather than get too stuck into the doing. So if you've got the team working like this,
in theory,
this could be a really brilliant transition to you playing more of that founder visionary role. You're going to have, I'm going to say, lots of time to think. You probably will have quite a bit of time to think, but you'll also be thinking about a baby. But that maybe it's going to be an amazing transition for you to take more of that visionary role and have other people step in to run the day-to-day. It's kind of envious. Maybe I need to have a baby.
Yeah, in theory, I have considered that. It's actually sort of forced me to go into more of that role sooner than maybe I would have. So yeah, it's we'll see. You have to watch this space. I'll let you know how it goes. But yeah, in theory, come July, will change for me.
You're going to be brilliant. It's going to be great, and it's an exciting journey. My last question, and this is something that I ask all of my guests now, is I obviously want to kind of uncover the people in marketing that people love, respect, that we can really learn from, and hopefully people that are doing things a little bit different, like text messaging, for instance. So who would you recommend? Anyone that you really respect in the industry that you would love to hear from on the podcast, or is a friend, or someone that you know in the industry that you think would interview really well?
Oh, that's a great question. I wish I'd thought of this more.
I know. I mean, we never prep anyone for this because I want people to think on the spot.
I would actually, I've touched on Rello before earlier, and I actually think they're really great. They're a small team and really great company and potentially be really interesting to interview. They're super smart around how they are just going that step further in terms of personalization and the segmentation side of things. It's all based around text messages and being a bit more sort of forward thinking around getting customers to communicate with them via SMS and manage subscriptions, and actually really plays into a lot of what we do in terms of customer retention. So I would suggest maybe the guys at Rello would be a good podcast guest for you.
Amazing. I'm going to follow up with you on that. Brilliant. Georgie, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you today.
Yeah, likewise.
And good luck with everything over the next few months.